Yep, thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, members. So agenda item 1 is apologies. There have been 2 given in. Councillor Flaherty and Councillor Evans. Is anybody else aware of any apologies that need to be given? Nope. Okay. All right, members. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. If there are none being indicated from the floor, I'm happy to take them as we go. Agenda item 3 is the 6 monthly business plan progress report. So most of us will be aware that in each of these departments, we do get the 6 monthly business plans. They are hefty, and you'll know this from your papers. They are hefty in detail. I did not and do not intend to go through these in detail now. However, as an information item, and as chair, I would normally ask, are there any questions from the floor relating to this information? And if there are, we can go through that. Alderman Mutri.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry to break your very fast pace at the start here. I'll be as brief as I can. It was really around the reports for staff absences, and I wanted to know, is there someone here that can give me an explanation? I'm trying to find them at the moment here. I think it was on EH09. Yes, EH09. There's a table here that gives, sickness absence, long-term, short-term, and overall. And then across the table, it goes standard stroke target 16 days. And the next line, it says baseline 16.6. That doesn't mean a lot to me. Is there anyone that can give us a wee bit of an explanation? And ask that because it features, it further tonight. And for those that are in governance tomorrow night, it features quite a bit.
Okay, thank you for that question, Alderman Mutri. Elizabeth, are you happy to take that?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So our understanding of the table is when you look at the standard, the target, this has been set corporately as 16 days, which is 4 days per employee, a target for each quarter, 1 short-term absence and 3 long-term, which is a total of 16. So that's 4 short, 12 long in a year. And the baseline figure then is taken from our 22-23 absence figures for each department. So the baseline will vary depending on the department's levels for 22-23, but the standard target will sit across the organisation as the target of days lost per employee.
You happy enough? Okay. Okay, thank you, Alderman Mutri, and thank you, Elizabeth. Councillor McClelland.
Yes, Chair, thanks for letting me in. And just, I suppose, by way of backing up my colleague Alderman Mutri, it's the same general question, but I was interested at point 3.1.3, where it talks about financial and resource implications. Surely, sort of absenteeism and most definitely overall productivity within the organisation, which are 2 important factors, do have a financial and do have a resource implication. And, I think it's something that we need, as an organisation, need to be focusing on up ahead, because we want to have as efficient an organisation as possible, because the ratepayers will hold us accountable. But there's no real question in there, Chair. It's more just a couple of comments. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor McClelland. I think those are fair comments and they have been noted. Thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. Sort of comes as no surprise yet again in another committee, and sort of the one that stands out the most is absenteeism within council. I fell victim to that last week when a meeting was organised. It seems to me that these absenteeisms is now being left towards other people to fill the gap, and then they're being overworked. They're always the go-to people. My concern is that they'll then start feeling the strain of this, and then we're going to lead to more absenteeism. So what are we going to do to address this so that it's not the same 4 or 5 people we run to if we need something answered and they're not getting then overworked and then off with work-related stress? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Armstrong. I'm seeing that more as a comment. I don't know whether we would have answers to that necessarily tonight. I think the comments are noted and it may be something we'll come back to deal with. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. And just to sort of support the comments that have already been made tonight around absenteeism, it is a concern in the business report. That's certainly a comment, but I did want to highlight as well that the number of greens in the report as well. And I think it's important that we just balance that with the fact that there is good service standards here from environmental services, and it's important not to forget that fact. We all, as elected reps, we all know when a bin doesn't get picked up. We all know about it, but we can see from this report that 99% of bins do get picked up on their scheduled day. So thank you to the staff for that. We do realise that there are some challenges ahead for this department, but we need to balance that with the good work that's done as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. And you were close with 99%. It's actually 99.7%. Jonathan told us last week at the working group meeting. That's a pretty astonishing figure when you think about the huge numbers of bins that are collected. I think it's fair comment to point out all the greens as well as the reds. Okay, members, if there are no more lights on for questions relating to that item, I'm happy to move on if you are. So we are on to item 4. Let's see. So agenda item 4, the environmental health report. So as I'm sure you'll have noticed, we do have quite a hefty program to get through here tonight. So there are quite a number of decision items. The first one is the draft response to Department of Health and Social Care consultation, and I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Chair. This is an item for decision. The consultation is attached in the papers, and it is around some of the issues that we brought to committee before around vaping and smoking. And there are 3 aspects to it: creating the smoke-free generation, tackling youth vaping, and the enforcement aspect. And obviously of note is some of the statistics around Northern Ireland and young person behaviour and around smoking. So as the Chair has said, we're fairly tight for time, but the recommendation tonight is that members approve the draft response to the Department of Health and Social Care open consultation. And obviously the impact in Northern Ireland and the outcome will inform decisions of any incoming ministers, or in the absence of ministers, those decisions can be taken under the Northern Ireland Executive Formation Act. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, members, so these are regional responses, so there's nothing in these that are going to be contradicted by any of the other councils. I actually thought they were very impressive responses in the consultation, or in the response that we give. It is a topic that's obviously going to become more and more important to us, as you know, vaping is one of those things that seems to be spreading like wildfire amongst the young people. So anything like this to try and tackle these issues, I think is worthwhile. So members, unless there are any questions, I will need a proposer and a seconder. So proposed, Councillor McConville, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Okay, all right, members. Item 4.2, back to yourself, Elizabeth, for this one.
Thank you, Chair. This is another consultation document from the Department of Communities, and members will be aware that we brought some information back in February regarding the implementation of the private tenancies legislation. And this aspect relates to an additional 2 measures, and it really is a technical consultation on Section 8, which relates to smoke, heat and carbon monoxide alarms, and Section 10 around electrical safety standards. Again, this is something which has been agreed through technical working groups regionally, and it is asked that members approve the technical response that is in the attached appendice. There's some information within the financial and resource implications, which is of note, and members will be asked for a decision regarding setting fixed penalties in 2024 when this aspect of the legislation comes through. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. And probably quite similar to the last one, folks. So unless there are any questions, I will need a proposer. So proposed by Alderman Moutry, seconder by Councillor McClellan. Okay, all agreed. Okay, members, we are now on to item 4.3, which is an information item. It's around emergency planning training, which is quite timely. I think most of you would agree. So I suppose the best way to put this would be that we should probably take advantage of the past week as an extra incentive to attend this training, because I'm told this will probably answer quite a few of the questions that we would have as elected reps, especially for the newer members. So as per normal, I didn't intend to go through this, but if there's any questions or queries people want to bring up, Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to commit in this information item just to place on record our thanks to Environmental Services and to Environmental Health for this past week. I think all as elected reps, we have seen the devastation that has occurred the last week, but we can also see that our staff were there on the ground helping the people of this borough, and that is to be commended. If I may, under this information item, though, suggest that we as a committee come together to support the party leaders letter that was released this week to ask for flooding funding for everything, all the flooding that has happened this past week, and to write to the Secretary of State and the Permanent Secretary of the Department of Finance to secure that funding package, as with other local councils.
Councillor Ferguson, I don't think anybody disagrees with you. I'm just trying to get the sense of where this sits within this committee and how we would agree to that. That actually sounds more like a motion to me, which you're totally entitled to bring, but for the upcoming full council meeting. I was even wondering whether it would sit under AOB at full council, but I would assume something like that would have the support of the full members, but you would need the membership to fully agree to something like that rather than the committee. Yeah. So what do you think? Just bring it. Do you want to touch base with some of the officers tomorrow or even after this meeting? I would be reluctant to let that fall because it's a very good proposal. I just think it doesn't sit within this committee currently. So are you happy to do that then? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Alderman Moutry.
Thank you, Chair. I also wanted to be associated with the remarks that Councillor Ferguson made. The officers and staff in both Environmental Services and Environmental Health were at the coalface last week and were there to all hours of the night and morning. And I think we should all place on record our thanks and our deep appreciation to them for what they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Moutry. And I speak on behalf of my own party. But I think all of us would agree that the officers certainly went above and beyond, and I think we would all like to be associated with those comments. So thank you to everyone. Okay, members, if there are no other questions regarding that, it was an information item, so we can move on then to agenda item 5. This is a decision item. So I am going to hand over to Barry for this one.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, members. Before you this evening is a report on a letter of offer for funding for water quality work on the River Feehan. It gives details there. It's £19,100 from DERA. The actions are included in 5.1.2, working with schools, working with farmers, and working with various teams in the catchment area. So the recommendation would be that members would agree to accept this letter of offer and in line with what officers have detailed in the actions. Happy to take any questions, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. This is a good news story. So if there are any DEA members, I would expect you to be in favour and supporting this. But if there are no questions for Barry, I'm still going to need a proposer and seconder to accept this this money, essentially. Councillor O'Dowd proposed, seconded by Councillor McClelland. Okay, all agreed? Excellent, well done. All right, okay, folks. We're now going to go into committee for that section of business. So members and online viewers, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed of the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? so that the meeting can proceed again in open session. Thank you. Can I have a proposer and a seconder to agree the recommendations made in committee? Councillor McClellan, Councillor O'Dowd, thank you. Agenda item 7 is correspondence, of which there is none, or there are none. Agenda item 8, AOB, I do have one, and it was notified to me within the correct time frame. So I'm going to hand over to Councillor McElrath.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, listen, I'm raising an item on behalf of Alderman Wilson, and it's in relation to a charity event, the Livingston Christmas Tractor Run on the Saturday, the 30th of December. Members will be aware that last month we made a decision in this committee, which ratified at full council in relation to the provision of portaloos and barriers at events. Now, that decision was made in good faith by us all. I suppose, from my perspective, when we think of annual charity events, and I know, Chair, this was raised even, I think, by yourself when we were just prior to making the decision in terms of annual events that have been ongoing for years. What was the likelihood of those type of events? And for those that don't know, most of you will do, the Livingston Tractor Christmas Run is a massive logistical effort cross community, and last year raised 159,000 in one day for charity. And this year it's for the Northern Ireland Children's Hospice and the Southern Area Hospice. So I suppose my point is, in hindsight, there probably have been one or two events that we may have overlooked in making that decision. And rather than go back and notice of motion and all that, I suppose what I'm asking tonight, Chair, is there any creative thinking around this, even in terms of, I'm not sure if there's a FAP application in the system. If there is, could we be as creative as we possibly can around it? Because this is a massive event, and I don't think any member across this committee, or indeed our entire chamber, when they see the effort that goes into this and the amount that's raised, I think it's way over £1 million that's been raised for charities over this last number of years. So I suppose what I'm asking tonight is, can we, Chair, without going back on the decision, because we all made it in good faith, but I suppose if I had known this event was coming, it's not in my DEA, but I should have probably thought about it. And I suppose maybe a wee bit disappointed if it was in the system for council over the years, that maybe it wasn't flagged up. But it's just around that FAP application. Can we have any leeway around that to try and see if we could help this group? Because every penny raised goes to these fantastic charities. So it's just that very brief item, Chair, and I appreciate you allowing to bring it on behalf of Alderman Wilson, but it is something I think that we will all have a sympathy with. And I know there will be other events, and in fact I've been approached about other events since we made this decision, but we're quite easily bat back because they weren't of this significance. But I would just ask maybe that officers could maybe come back to me on that if possible. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McElrath. Yes, I think officers are fine with going away, getting some information, gathering some facts and figures, and coming back to you. I would, I suppose, err on the side of caution in that whatever decision or however we deal with this needs to be fairly applied across the board. I suspect this will not be the first nor the last of these types of requests, and there is no budget from memory. I think the reason we came to this decision was essentially our budget had run out, so we need to be careful about where the money comes from. But I think points very well made by yourself in terms of the importance of this event and the kind of money that it raises for charity. Very well needed, certainly in today's society. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that, and certainly the sentiment. So if there is a way to help, I think we should find it. And if we do find it, I think we should be making other groups and certainly other members here aware of how groups can avail of these of this assistance from council. Are you content with that, Councillor McElrath, in the circumstances that the officers contact you directly as soon as they have that information? Yep. Okay. Okay. No worries. All right, members, that actually brings us to the end of this committee. I predicted a wee bit later than this, but members, thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your input. Thank you, officers, and thank you, Hilary, once again for steering the ship. Okay, members, safe home.